Liv Morgan fans, you have got to hear what your girl just said about Rhea Ripley. And in this video, I am going to break it down because Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, they have been headlining WWE storylines over the last few months. And I say that in all respect. I'm not saying it's the best storyline. I'm just saying it is the most heavily featured storyline outside of a CM Punk Drew McIntyre that is still going on. Even so, when CM Punk and Drew McIntyre was heated up, that was best storyline, but it wasn't always featured in that role. And I say this how? Because Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, they've dominated Monday Night Raw over the last several months, going all the way back to the following episode of Monday Night Raw coming out of WrestleMania when Liv Morgan attacked Rhea Ripley. Keep in mind that Liv Morgan, she was just supposed to step up to the plate, challenge Rhea Ripley for the said championship, and most likely Rhea Ripley was going to go over her, no big deal. But it was Liv Morgan who injured Rhea Ripley, setting a course of changes in which no one could have expected. Liv Morgan went from a mid-carder up to a legit star. It transformed her career. She became Women's World Champion. The reason that I say it's one of the most interesting and most heavily featured storylines is this. Even though that Rhea Ripley was out of action due to injury with her shoulder injury, Liv Morgan was still carrying that feud. She was carrying it and she was building it. So while you didn't have Rhea on television, you continuously heard her name. She also got within the Judgment Day, pulling Dominic from Rhea and putting him at Liv Morgan's side. And then once Rhea returned to television, they picked back up. Throughout this time, from coming out of WrestleMania to right now, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley storyline is somehow, some way, always used on television. Multiple times. Opening and closing segments. This is a actual bona fide feud. Okay? They may not have the greatest matches in the world, but the feud is absolute fire. Now, this is where I pick things up. Because Liv Morgan recently spoke about her SummerSlam win over Rhea Ripley. Take it back a few months. It was Dominic Mysterio who had made Rhea Ripley believe that he was on her side, only to turn his back on Rhea Ripley, setting the stage for what I think has added another layer to the storyline. So Liv Morgan, your girl's been out doing a bunch of media, and she was recently speaking with Cameron Hawkins for Uncrowned. And then she said this: I feel like I've done a lot of great things leading up until then, meaning SummerSlam. I've always had awesome moments, but I feel like SummerSlam was really my if you didn't know, I'm here moment. Okay? Now, she gets more into this in a moment about Rhea Ripley. Think about this for a minute. She is credited for Rhea Ripley helping change her career. Outside of, gimmick, storyline, in-character promos, and interviews, she's credited Rhea Ripley. A lot of people have made the comparison of Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan feud to Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, right? You have a smaller heel versus a larger babyface, okay? Why this is so significant? She feels like her SummerSlam win put her on the map. That is huge. That is a statement in which you cannot overlook, and I'll tell you why. You look at Liv Morgan. She returns at the Royal Rumble in January after a long hiatus, about a 6-month hiatus. Ironically, storyline reason, attacked by Rhea Ripley, leading her to being off television. She comes back and she declares that the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour is on track, and she's coming after Rhea Ripley. She feuds with Becky Lynch, she falls short, but then she goes right back into the storyline with Rhea. Rhea gets injured, and then she goes and beats Becky Lynch at the King and Queen of the Ring PLE for the Women's World Championship, only to beat her 2 nights later on an episode of Monday Night Raw inside of a steel cage. The fact that she beat Becky Lynch and won the Women's World Championship was not her I'm here moment. The fact that she did it 2 nights later yet again in Becky Lynch's final match with WWE was not I'm here moment. In fact, it was multiple months later in the first encounter of this existing feud with Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. A significant moment as Dominic Mysterio shifted his allegiance, his alliance from Rhea to Morgan. That was the moment. That was the moment that she felt like after all the hard work, after all the years of sacrifice, after all the years of being on the road, being away from her family, the blood, the sweat, the tears, all the cliches, that was the moment in which she broke out. That was the moment in which her career changed forever. That was the moment that she made everyone recognize that Liv Morgan is here, Liv Morgan is here to stay, and Liv Morgan is going to be a bigger star than you had ever anticipated. That is huge. That is the moment in which you underline SummerSlam 2024, Liv Morgan's moment, Liv Morgan's breakout moment. That's huge. And where they have gone since then, obviously, so, they did the mixed tag team match, Bash in Berlin, Rhea, Damian Priest going over Dominic and Liv Morgan. They follow it up, Bad Blood, really, really bad match. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bad Blood, horrific match. That match sucked. But you had the inclusion of Raquel Rodriguez, and it added another layer to the storyline. It added another element to the storyline because now you are able to really extend it, right? And obviously Rhea going down with a broken orbital bone didn't help things, but still, when they get this feud really kicked back up again, there's elements to it. So Rhea, she already got her revenge a little bit on Dominic, but they can eventually do the singles match with Rhea and Raquel, and then eventually that trilogy bout with Liv Morgan. I would have Liv Morgan put Rhea over, have Rhea win the Women's World Championship, and then they go on their merry ways. Ironically, this is interesting timing because if Liv Morgan is going to lose the Women's World Championship, she's going to have to do something, right? So do you have her win the Women's Tag Team match, her and Raquel? Do they hold the Tag Team Championships? That could be fun. Do you have Liv Morgan be the inaugural U.S. champion? Or at least go after that championship down the road? That would be interesting. So many layers, so many different ways that you can go about it, right? What WWE ends up doing, though, is a completely different set of circumstances. If I'm WWE, I am going to try to extend Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley as long as I can. Why? Because there's multiple things in which you can do between now and, say, a WrestleMania. You can have Liv Morgan feud with Io Sky. You can have Raquel feud with Rhea Ripley. You can put challenges in their ways of getting to Rhea versus Liv. You could have Rhea being forced to go through the Women's Royal Rumble, forcing her to win that match, beat 29 other superstars to secure a Women's World Championship match with Liv, and then go from there. I don't know how they do it. I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments here below. What do you think about Liv Morgan's comments about Rhea Ripley?